Hello and welcome to Monday Night Therapy with John and Todd. Or is it John and Todd's Monday Night Therapy? I can never remember.
I
I
don't
suck at these
remember.
intros.
You're John. I'm Todd. We're trying to provide therapy.
God help these people. Look, there's 10 already joined us. How you doing, Todd? How was your week?
Oh, my week last week. I'll tell you what. I was wiped out, man. I saw the state of Nebraska. I started Tuesday night in Grand Island and all the way to Scotts Bluff, and finally made my way back. So, um, yeah, busy week. Watched some football on the weekend, but I am absolutely drained for whatever reason tonight.
I am too. I am dragging. I did not work out today, and my body is very upset with me. So if I seem a little off, well, shit, I'm always off, aren't I? Let's just
Well,
get into it.
yeah,
Don't answer
yeah,
that. Don't answer
yeah.
that.
All right, all right.
Todd, moment of truth.
Oh,
At what point did you think we were going to lose to Wisconsin?
when the game started.
Really?
No, no, no. I'll, I when did I think we were going to lose? At the start of the second half. When the team, the defense held up pretty strong, but all of us, I mean, we couldn't move the ball, and it seemed like any life that the offense had, you know, I wouldn't say quickly disappeared, but it disappeared. And the way that Wisconsin plays, it was just a matter of time before they wore our defense out. And you know, following along on the thread on Corn Nation, people were using the terms, here comes, the Badger, ground and pound, and all of those types of things. It was inevitable. I kept hoping that somehow, some way, they might be able to connect with Trey Palmer for some big plays, or whatever. But the offense was anemic, and I just really wonder. Um, I haven't been a real strong critic of Coach Whipple, but boy, it seemed to me like he mailed it in on Saturday. Um, I yeah, it was frustrating to watch.
Should I defend him?
Sure, you can go ahead and
Would you
defend.
like me to defend him?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to hear
Okay.
what you have to say.
I know that a lot of people, I've seen people all season long fire Mark Whipple, fire Mark Whipple. You can't really fire the only guy that knows how to be an offensive coordinator in the middle of the season.
True.
But I think that the key here is what was disappointing for me most of all about Wisconsin is normally the interior of our offensive line is dependable. But what you saw was a whole gob of low snaps or bad snaps from Trent Hickson, and that threw the timing off. And you saw that on some game. This offense is so fragile that if anything goes wrong in that three sets of downs you get to get, I know you get four sets of downs to get a first down, but in that the first down, second down, third down, they're so fragile that if they get a false start, if they get a holding call, if they get anything, then they're off schedule and they're screwed. And you saw so many times the ball was snapped low, and Casey Thompson had to reach down and pick it up or reach down for it. And by then, if he had a running back that was going to get a handoff, that guy has to pause, and everything's blown up at that point. There's not a yeah. I know that I am not enamored with Mark Whipple, but right now he's trying to call an offense without a functional offensive line, and he
Yeah.
can't. You can't do it.
No, you can't. You're right with that. And what has gotten into Trent Hicks in the last 4 games? I mean,
Uh,
it seemed like he was pretty reliable. I mean, my goodness gracious, we dealt with 2 years of Cam Jurgens trying to figure out how to snap the ball. And it seemed to me that at least at the beginning of the season, that was one thing we didn't have to worry about. But then all of a sudden, geez, in the last 4 games, Trent Hickson has put about as many of them on the ground as he has, knee high, waist high. So
yeah.
anyway, You know what?
Wait. The second thing that I will criticize him on 1 point. No, 2 points. No, five. Anyway, number one, there never seems to be a check down. And if you had an offensive line that didn't function and Casey Thompson was going back to pass, you'd think that you'd always keep a guy in and then release him. You know what I mean? Like a back for extra protection, a tight end that's blocking that then releases late. Some kind of check down for Casey Thompson to go, okay, nobody's open. Bloop, you don't see that at all, and that's really. And then the other thing is not very wide receiver screens or bubble screens, things like that. Things where the ball can come out fast and maybe Trey Palmer could break some. Living in Omaha, David Matney says, John, can you please say hello to my wife, Angela? She is a big fan of the channel. Hello, Angela. And thank you very much for supporting us. Blaine Cole is here from Japan again. Let's see who else was. Oh my God, I had some of these people in here. Fongwei Reldman. I'm pretty sure that's his real name. He's here tonight. Highlander Gunn, Aaron Keene, Kingsley Gibbons, Aussie Fight Day, who says, I want Deion Sanders to coach Nebraska. We'll get into coach talk because we don't really have a choice now. Terry Bush says, what you're talking about is good coaching. What's that? I just...
Good coaching is what Coach Bush has been doing. That's good coaching.
That is true. He has done a very good job. I think the defense has played pretty well. I asked you when you thought we were going to lose to Wisconsin. When we couldn't make a first down on our last offensive possession, I turned to Heidi and I said, well, this is done. We know how this ends. Just because we couldn't do it anymore. The defense couldn't do it. And then they gave up that one frickin' pass,
Yeah. Well, I also, and you mentioned already, and I guess it's been one of those things that I've read and heard quite a bit over the last few weeks. And the sentiment that some fans have expressed about firing Whipple, we should have fired him 3 or 4 weeks. And I just want to echo what you said, John. They fired the head coach. They fired the defensive coordinator. They elevated a wide receiver coach to the head position, and they brought up a couple of analysts or grad assistants or whomever they were, to fill those coaching spots. And if they would have unloaded the offensive coordinator, I mean, my goodness gracious, you got to have at least one aspect of some consistency. Now, certainly Mark Whipple, his offense did not live up, to any expectations that I'm sure anyone had. And it's been very, very frustrating to watch, especially, when, truth be told, when our former head coach was calling the offense, there was a lot of creative play calling. There were a lot of creatively designed plays. This offense wasn't consistent. I mean, I'm not going to put it up there with a high-functioning, high-powered offense. It certainly wasn't. But maybe we all just kind of got spoiled with the fact that, from week to week, we might see something a little bit different, something that would possibly inject a little bit of energy into the offense. And we just haven't seen that. Like I said, I think Coach Whipple mailed it in this week. It was a frustrating game to watch. And then you got to look at it. I understand this is the worst Wisconsin team in a lot of years. Game that Nebraska should have won. But, the reality is they couldn't put it together and sustain it for four quarters.
My dog is being she's more disruptive than the chat section here. What was I going to say? Wisconsin. The good thing about Wisconsin, their fans are all going crazy because they're like, they haven't named Jim Leonard. If they were just going to hire him, just name him coach. They're all going insane about their coaching search too, and they're getting very upset and frustrated. And it was funny to hear that from some of the Wisconsin guys I know. And it brought me joy, even though it didn't really bring me enough joy.
Well, I heard that they formally advertised the position this week, so now they can hire him.
Well, I guess their announcement of Jim Leonard as their head coach is imminent.
Ladies and gentlemen, you too can have a splashy looking outfit like our benevolent leader, John Johnston, is wearing tonight. Now, I want to caution everyone, that's only going to look good on some people. Some people. It is one of those outfits that reflects the personality and the character of the individual who wears it. John can pull it off. 98% of men over the age of 30 in the United States of America cannot pull that off, but John can.
Just think of yourself as being permanently on a cruise. I've never been on a cruise, but I imagine this is what they wear. Hey, baby. Anyway, I told you, Todd, I was going to surprise. I was going to speak English. I was going to come up with a surprise topic you knew nothing about.
Yeah, well, I've been kind of thinking about that. You threw that to me right before we went on the air, so I haven't had time to get nervous. What is the surprise topic?
I want us to discuss something that I find just interesting about human beings, and that is the dichotomy, such a big word, of CEO pay versus college coach pay. And what I mean is this. People get very upset when CEOs make gazillions of millions of dollars, dillions of dollars. People get upset. And they go, they're not worth that money. And then they get angry at them. But when we come to college coaches, people have an extremely different attitude. Maybe this is just a shitty topic, but, we'll see from the comments section. People just have a different attitude. I mean, Matt Rule right now might be our next head coach. Just hire him, throw money at him, just whatever he needs, get it done. And then we end up with these coaching salaries, that are dumb because most athletic directors are really terrible at business. And right now, Texas A&M is sitting there with Jimbo Fisher. Did you see the shot of their after halftime?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 100 people left in the stadium. They're stuck there with a guy that they have to buy out for like $95 million, $97 million. And the price of oil is like, I don't know, it's down. That's what it is. It's down. So they're going to sit there with this coach that nobody wants anymore. And I don't know. I just think that that's interesting how people view those two things. Is that an interesting topic or is it just dumb?
Well, I don't know if it's dumb, but I think that to me, where you erase any kind of an argument is the fact that 99% of all college coaches, whether they be head football coaches, the ones that get the big money, head football coaches, head men's basketball coaches, they're public employees. They're public employees. They're not running corporations with private shareholders and that type of thing. To me, it's a totally different situation. I think the salaries that have been paid to Division I coaches have been ridiculously out of whack for the last 20 years. When you look at the 50 states in this country, and the highest paid public employee in, I think it's last time I looked, 49 of the 50 states is either a head men's basketball coach or a head football coach. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. There are public employees that serve a much greater need in most of our states than a head coach. I don't know if that's where you were going with this when you brought it up, but that's kind of where I think.
I just always think that it's interesting, that people are, they just have that attitude. Just throw money at him, give him whatever he wants, and then they don't get upset. In fact, I'll tell you this: what are we looking at right now? I mean, let's go right into the coach stuff. The bigger ones right now that are on top of the list, Matt Rule was up there last week, and then there's kind of this thing, well, Matt Rule told him no, or there was some argument with the NFL owner of the Carolina Panthers. I can't remember their name because there's contract issues there, and maybe Matt Rule isn't going to meet the minimum requirement to satisfy the NFL owners for the contract issues or something. So now we've got Chris Klieman, who I did a video on, Kansas State coach, Lance Leipold, who I did a video on today. Both those coaches have risen to the top. They're probably a little bit cheaper than Matt Rule. You look at Lance Leipold, he's like, I think he's getting like $3.5 million a year or something at Kansas. So that guy's, it's almost as if we don't pay like $8 million a year for a coach, people are going to be upset that we didn't. If we would have paid more money, somehow we would have gotten a guy that would win more games, which I find all of this just bizarre.
Well,
it's probably not that interesting to most people, but
in back of my mind, I think that you look at the situation with Jimbo Fisher, and look at the situation with some of these other buyouts that have been in place, or look, with Nebraska. I mean, Scott Frost, $15 million. And, we've joked that was his buyout. Scott Frost coached at this institution for 5 years. And I don't know what the total amount of money is that he stuck in his pocket, but, how did the state benefit from paying him that much money? How did I don't get it. But maybe Trev Alberts is going to lead somewhat of a charge to have a little bit more responsible fit, a little bit higher fiscal responsibility. I still think that they're going to pay a head coach quite a bit of money, but maybe those contracts will start to be structured a little bit different based upon some incentives and some of those other types of things. I mean, even Mark Stoops down at Kentucky, the contract that he has insulates him so well. And we can, I don't know. John, we've had a lot of conversations about, the functions of an athletic department and coaches' pay and buyouts and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. So at some point in time, I think things are going to come home to roost, and people are going to have to start looking at things a little bit differently.
Okay. We've been saying that for years, and the contracts keep going up. They're going to make billions of dollars now.
But then again, and I just see Matt Hansen just posted, can't go bargain basement like with Riley. Oh, I agree 100%. I don't think that Mike Riley was brought here because we could get him cheap. I don't think that was the case. I think that Sean Eichhorst was determined that he wanted the anti-Bo Pelini, and he got him. Period.
Okay. We're going to take some viewer, listener comments, whatever you want to call them. Kingsley Gibbons says, what's going to happen if there's still no news after the Iowa game? Not sure if we will take it very much longer. You'll take it as long as they decide to let you take it, buddy. That's the answer to that question. Well, there's not going to be any news after the Iowa game. Okay, because the Iowa game's Friday, and the rest of college football is going to play Saturday. And you have to keep in mind that, listen, my opinion on this whole coach search thing is that nobody knows shit. I mean, we just keep throwing names out. Guys like us, probably Todd, because Todd does now because he's a content creator. You are an influencer, Todd, or something. Yeah. I don't know what that means. But we have to constantly come up with content. Guys that do radio shows have to talk about something every day. That's why you've seen 83 names discussed, because there's no real names out there that anybody can solidify, because Trev Alberts has played this so well and kept it so quiet. So where the hell was I going with this? Okay, Iowa, Friday, whatever. We'll talk about the Iowa game. Saturday, everybody else is still playing. Sunday is a day of rest. Right? And then sure. Monday. So honestly, I wouldn't expect anything till probably Monday.
I think you're right, John. And I've paid a little bit of attention. It's it's interesting how when there's in some circles, you wait until Friday to dump big news because then you got the weekend. You know how that is. And a lot of time
Yep.
that's bad news or that's something that people really don't want to have to discuss. And they dump it late Friday afternoon because it's at the end of the news cycle. By the same token, if you want to have media attention, let the NFL get done on Sunday, at least from the sports world. Let them get done on Sunday. Let the morning talking heads have their time, on sports talk on Monday morning and then release something in the early afternoon. And that will probably get about as much media attention, or late morning, early afternoon. That will probably get about as much bang for your buck as one could hope. So, I'm with you. I expect that there will be news at some point this weekend or very early next week. But I don't think we're going to get it right after the Iowa game. Trev's got some conversations to have with Mickey Joseph, and he'll have some conversations that he needs to have probably with some of the other assistant coaches. It's yeah, as much as we would like it, just hang on, you're going to make it. Another few days, is not going to cause irreparable harm.
You have to consider the fact. I mean, look at all the names. This is the list of names. I still have them up on my screen. That a few weeks ago we all came up with, people who are commenting, and Todd and I: Dave Aranda, Bill O'Brien, Matt Campbell, Chris Klieman, Lane Kiffin, Lance Leipold, Dion. I wrote down for the Views. Somebody said I should have done a video for the Views. Guy at Coastal Carolina, Matt Rule, Kyle Whittingham, and Dino Babers. Todd, out of all the people I just named, how many of them are still coaching right now?
I wasn't counting, but I think almost all of them are.
Every one of them except Matt Rule.
Except Matt Rule. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so you can't. The idea that we were going to name a coach before this all along was really, just kind of dumb. I mean, it's wishful thinking. It's something we wanted to happen, so we look for signs. Kind of like you bought a new Jeep Wagoneer and suddenly you see it everywhere. Everything we read and everything we looked at was about confirmation bias. Oh, they're going to announce a coach soon. No, they weren't. They were never going to. Consider this. If it doesn't happen like this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday, Monday, what does that mean?
Well, if we don't hear something Sunday, Monday, then
Yeah.
I think what that means is I think whoever we are pursuing, or perhaps whoever Trev has a deal with, is still coaching.
What? Who would that be?
Well, I think
out of
that
all
could
those
be,
names that I just listed, you're supposed
it
to
could
pay
be
attention.
well, all of them except for Matt Rule. But
No, after this weekend, there
well,
will be
some of
only
them,
championship games.
right. I don't know. I'm still holding out hope, and I don't know why, but I'm still holding out hope that Nebraska is going to get our Lincoln Riley or our Brian Kelly. I hope that there's something that has happened behind the scenes that Trev Alberts has been able to keep secret or whatever. And when he steps up to that podium, that he announces the name of someone that will surprise all of us. Because, well, I'll just throw one out. I know some people have brought this guy's name up, but what about a Luke Fickell? And, he's, again, I've heard some people mention him. But, all of a sudden it seemed like he was dismissed because he's got such a good gig at Cincinnati. He's an Ohio boy. He'll only go to Ohio State and that kind of thing. But someone like that, or, another sitting coach that's out there that perhaps would be attractive. I don't know.
Let's see. Somebody had it right. Doomsday Diesel, maybe. Chris Klieman would still probably be coaching because he has the Big 12 championship coming up the week after. So, do you have top three coaches, Todd?
Well, I'm not sure if I do or not. I mean,
Oh
I've
my
been
God, you're supposed to come to this show prepared.
I've been so all over the place. I was hot on Dave Aranda at the very beginning. I really was, and I still think that he would have some potential. Okay, so Doomsday Diesel, he just threw out my top pick, and people have laughed me off the face of the earth for this. Zach Taylor, and everybody has given me multiple reasons why Zach Taylor will never be the head coach at Nebraska, but you know, uh, he hasn't recruited. He hasn't had to recruit. Well, you know, hire Mickey Joseph. Whatever. I guess to me, um, I've said on this podcast before, there's a lot of people that I think will do a good job, and whomever it is, I don't have a real strong favorite, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, this is from earlier. Joel Tilson. Raiola's still coaching our pathetic O-line. He is for another week.
Yep, for another week, and he'll be gone.
That's really, that's a position you couldn't fire any more coaches. Otherwise, you would have assumed that he would have been gone because the offensive line is terrible. This is a leading question. David Matney asked, just curious, when do you think Scott Frost gave up, or when do you think he realized he was in over his head? I don't know. Here's the thing. I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking, did he really just do so bad a job this year so he would get fired early? Because there's that question. Okay, consider that. Doomsday Diesel says, do you think if we paid Frost much less, he would have been motivated to coach better? And then Fongway, our buddy Fongway, is the entire administration also inept for blowing $5 million for not wanting to wait another 3 weeks before firing Frosty? I know what I think about. Do you want to go with those? Or do you want me to go?
I want you to take those. I mean, I want to contemplate a little bit. All of those are really good comments or questions and statements.
Okay, number one. I don't think you could have done anything to coach. Nothing would have motivated Scott Frost to coach any differently than he did. I don't really see this other than Scott Frost just really deciding that I'm going to go do this and I'm going to be successful at it. Everything we know about Scott Frost, rumors and everything, really indicate that saying he was over his head is a nice way of saying he thought he could just show up and be a coach. Yeah. Which is kind of disturbing given the fact that he was mentored by some of the greatest coaches in football. I mean, across the board, you go through the number of coaches he was exposed to, where he ever got the idea that he could just show up and the team would do what he wanted. That's just hubris. There is nothing in there that could have changed that. And I mean, obviously, Tom Osborne probably had some influence or some kind of, listen, Tom Osborne was a legendary football coach. He wasn't a very good athletic director. And he wasn't, he tried to run for governor. He tried to be in politics. He wasn't very good at that. The other thing I think that Tom Osborne is really exceptional at is mentoring. He has a whole big, what's it called, Todd? Teammates. There you go. That does mentoring. For God's sakes, if Scott Frost ever thought he was in over his head, all he would have had to do was raise his hand and say help. And some of the best fucking mentors that you guys could think of would have gone, okay, what do you need, Scott? And they would have helped him. So there's nothing that could have changed this trajectory other than Scott Frost just saying, okay, I need help, please. And then Fongway with the entire administration inept for blowing $5 million for not wanting to wait. Here's what I'm going to say about that. We don't know what happened. There's been no information, no rumors, nothing about what happened the night he got, the night before he got fired. And I'm sure that will come out someday. But I'm guessing that the reason he got fired then is because Trev Alberts just determined he was too fucking toxic to keep around the program anymore. because otherwise there's no other reason for that. I mean, there's something that had to have happened there to say, you know what, it is worth 7.5 million fucking dollars to fire your ass right now, and I'm going to do it. So
I agree with you 100%. I think, you know, talking about that last question, is the department inept? No. The Nebraska athletic department is not inept. It's probably one of the better functioning athletic departments in the country. Unfortunately, we don't have men's basketball and football programs that can win at this point in time. And that's something that is going to be a pretty strong weight on Trev Albert's shoulder in terms of him figuring out how he's going to support and move those programs forward. Outside of that, the athletic program or the athletic department in Nebraska is a very well functioning, very efficient organization. So, we've had a few people post here that are not Trev Alberts fans. If you've paid any attention to me over the last 5 years, I'm not either. But, I guess as far as I'm concerned, I think the guy's done a good job as the leader of Nebraska athletics. And he has done nothing up until this point that I have strong objection to. And, it goes so much deeper than, waiting a week to fire Scott Frost and save some dollars. I don't think that Trev Albert would have done that if he thought that there was any way that he could salvage Scott Frost. And, as far as Scott Frost, I think one of the initial questions was, when did he give up? I think Scott Frost gave up before this season even started. I think when he was, it's all speculation, but speculation is that he was told by Trev Albert that he needed to bring in some new assistant coaches, that he needed to unload some assistant coaches. I think that Frost viewed that as, I don't think Frost wanted to do that. I think that he was very uncomfortable having to do that, and at that point in time, I think Frost basically said, "Well, I'll see how long I can stay in charge, how long I can hang on." That's kind of an oversimplification of that.
Bradley Warnick says, "Need your prediction on how the head coach news will break."
We're going to get. They're going to send through their media outlets. They're going to send about an hour ahead of time that the Nebraska Athletic Department is going to have a news conference, and they might say something that it's relative to football, or they might not. Everybody's going to assume that if Trev Alberts is calling for a news conference, it's going to be to announce the new head coach. But they will do it about an hour ahead of time through all of their media releases, and anybody with a camera, anybody with a recorder, anybody with a pad and a pencil is going to get to Lincoln, Nebraska, to West Stadium as fast as they possibly can so that they can be in the room to listen to what Trev Alberts is going to say.
Yeah, I think the problem with is how the head coach news will break. There has been so much bullshit spewed about this coaching search over the past month. I mean, honest to God, truth is, who you going to trust? I don't break news. I'm not a news breaking kind of guy because I have other things to do in my life. Like, I only do this part time. But I don't mean to be rude to these guys. Are you really going to trust Steve Sipple or Sean Callahan anymore to break this shit?
I'm not going to trust anybody.
Yeah, I don't know why you would trust a single media member anywhere for any reason. Because all of them have come out with every son, you know what I mean? Joel Tilson said John only breaks wind. Well, yes.
And he does a good job. I mean,
yeah. But I don't. Are you going to really trust any of these people with all the names that have been thrown around? I
No,
think the only time you're going to trust what happens is when Trevor Roberts stands up with a coach and
absolutely.
said, and introduced the next head coach in Nebraska, Chris Klieman.
Yeah, I'm trusting no one. And, all of this, again, it's to score points. I mean, people have gone bonkers, and some of it's for humor. Some of it's to get a laugh, to see what they can. But, you know, so many of these people, and on social media, and and some of the regular media, and that type of thing, you know, what they're trying to do is they want to be able to pat themselves on the back and say, "Hey, that's who I said it was going to be," and I said that back, on November 13th. I said that Matt Rule was going to be the head coach, and I was right. And give me a gold star. I want a gold star. Maybe that's what we should do, John, is we should get a whole bunch of gold stars with little CNs in the middle of them. We should award gold stars when people, do something good, kind of like participation ribbons. Oh, good for you, Steve. Good for you, Chris. Good for you, whoever.
Okay, James
Yeah.
Marshall. Do you think Wisconsin and Nebraska are playing a game of chicken because Leipold and Leonard are being viable options for both programs?
No, no. Wisconsin's going to hire Leonard. And, here's something that is unique in some states, and I'm pretty sure that Wisconsin is one of them. You know, these are public football coaches are public employees. And it's no different than if they're hiring, a new professor in animal science, or if, the Department of Transportation is hiring, some new employees. You have to go through the protocols and the processes to hire public
Yeah, you
employees.
do.
And in the
Yeah.
state of Wisconsin, they have to, go through their job description. I mean, as stupid as it sounds, that's public bureaucracy. They go through, and they are by law required to review their job descriptions, and they have to do all this kind of stuff, and then they have to post the job, and they've got to go through the process. So, why didn't they do that 3 or 4 weeks ago? Well, I think pretty much Leonard was going to be the head coach from the day that they got rid of Paul Chryst. Otherwise, why would they have gotten rid of Paul Chryst at that point in time?
I think Wisconsin's kind of, when you look at Wisconsin, they are a Big Ten university. I know we look at us. I know that we are now a Big Ten university, but I don't think that we're a Big Ten university like other Big Ten universities. Ohio State football is a huge, enormous thing, and it drives it. What did Ramsey Nasrallah, who runs the Level Warriors, tell me? He told me about football for Ohio State University, that football is the spearhead of, basically their marketing. The football is the thing that is the tip, the spear that drives them forward at Ohio State. That is not true for the University of Wisconsin.
No,
So over the
absolutely not.
years, when you look at Wisconsin, you've seen like Brett Bielema left there because they wouldn't give him more money for assistants. Who was the coach that just left like in mid-season? Was it Gary Anderson?
Yeah, Gary Anderson.
Yeah, because he was like, you won't let me do what I want to do. It has to be done all this Wisconsin way stuff. That's why Jim Leonard is going to get hired there, is because he's a Wisconsin guy. Do they have nil money? They probably have nil money, but it's not that football for them is not going to spearhead driving their university forward and making them more of a university than they already are. I mean, they're kind of tempered by the fact that the Green Bay Packers are in Wisconsin, and that whole state, is, they have the Packers and the Bucks and things like that to distract them. So
And
that's the difference between.
they have an incredible farmers market in the spring, summer, and fall in Madison. That's the state capital of Wisconsin sits up on a hill in Madison, and all the way around on all four sides, they've got a farmers market that is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Just amazing.
5280, Tom says, is Dion still in the running?
Has he been in the running?
I don't think so.
Has he been a serious candidate?
I
mean,
know. I think Deion Sanders is happy to coach where Deion Sanders is coaching.
Well, I
don't
think
think
Deion Sanders is going to land an FBS job, and I think
Do you?
I could see Deion Sanders at Florida State. I could see Deion Sanders at Miami. I think that there are some schools where Deion Sanders will land, but
Where did he play?
he played at Florida State.
That's what I thought. You think he's going to go coach for Miami?
If that's the only Deion Sanders wants to coach Division I football, and if that's the only if that opportunity. I'll tell you what, you talk about being in the hotbed of recruits. Holy smokes. Miami, all he would have to do is just jump in his car and drive 10 minutes and run into all kinds of talent down there. I don't here's where I'm at with Deion Sanders. Over the years, especially, once he got out of college, I couldn't stand him when he was in college. But when he became a pro, he was a pro's pro. He really couldn't tackle worth a damn, but he didn't have to because they hardly ever threw the ball to his side of the field because he was such a good cover cornerback. But I also loved watching him play baseball. And, I've got an affection for Deion Sanders because of that whole two-sport thing. Bo Jackson is probably one of my top 2 or 3 favorite athletes of all time. But Deion Sanders is not a fit for Nebraska. And fit is important. It is important. And Deion Sanders, as much flash as he would bring, as much of attention as he would bring to Nebraska, there are many, many, many Nebraskans that would not support Deion Sanders, even if he wins. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going any further.
MWI 87. Why is Gus Malzahn not an option? Jude just consistently wins football games. It's all he's ever done. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either. His name hasn't been brought up at all.
Maybe is he coaching?
He's at UCF. He followed Josh Heupel.
Oh, okay. That's right. I don't know why his name hasn't come up. Maybe that's it. Maybe Shane Kotz says not another UCF coach. Maybe that's it. Oh God, we already did that once. Let's see here. Let's do 2 in a row from this dude. He's hitting base hits. MWI 87 says, will the next coach understand what an offensive and defensive line are and how fundamentally crucial it is to winning at Nebraska? Trev Alberts, remember during his press conference when he announced he fired that last guy, he talked a little bit about what he was looking for in a coach. And one of the things he brought up was development, that he wanted Nebraska to be key in development of players. And one of the other things he brought up, if I remember right, was tough. I want to say tough nose. That's not the phrase I'm looking for.
Hard-nosed.
Hard-nosed. God.
And fundamentally
the words get jumbled
sound.
in my damaged brain. Go ahead again. I'm sorry.
Fundamentally sound.
There you go. Fundamentally sound and hard-nosed, not tough-nosed. Hard-nosed to me and fundamentally sound means you have really good offensive and defensive lines.
I can't imagine that Trev Alberts is going to hire a coach that doesn't have a plan for putting heavy emphasis on the trenches, both sides of the ball.
Jose Montez says, I just want to know when they're going to announce the new coach. I would, if I had to pick a time and date, I would say next Sunday or Monday.
I agree.
I gotta get a new mouse, man. This thing is failing me miserably.
I just hope it doesn't interrupt my World Cup watching.
Did you watch the game today?
Yeah, damn it. That first half was really, really good, and then they didn't adjust. I mean, Wales was really on the attack in the second half, and the U.S. didn't have an answer for him. And I don't like Christian Bale. Never been into man buns, and I blame soccer for that.
I had to leave for the second half and go take care of a car issue.
Wait just a minute. Did I say Christian Bale?
Yes, you did. Bale. The guy's last name is Bale, but I don't.
Yeah, I think I got my Bales mixed up.
Yes, you did. Oh, Chris Crawford says soccer is for Europeans.
Chris, a large percentage of us are all Europeans. That's where we all started.
Well, I coached soccer for 10 years.
Yeah,
You
Christian
you
Bale, the actor. Thank you, MK. The other Bale.
I coached youth soccer for 10 years, and
Gareth Bale. There you
all
go.
three of my kids, uh, Gareth Bale, think outside the bun. All three of my kids played soccer, so soccer is a it's we enjoy it as a
I
household.
love it. I love it.
Let's see here. Beetle B says, we'll go back to the line. What about the training table? Don't we need bigger kids?
We
I
need
have seen more.
stronger kids.
Yeah,
We need stronger, more explosive kids.
I have seen a number of people say this. I looked around social media. I do every day. I go out and I kind of read Facebook comments to the Omaha World Herald and the whatever. And there's been this lately. There's this thing about we need bigger linemen. We don't need bigger linemen. We need more athletic and agile linemen. If you'll notice, part of the problem is, I mean, our tackles can't move. They can't move at all. You can't move your put it this way. Let's you know what? We're going to combine two things into one here. Soccer and football. And you can look at the greatest lineman Nebraska ever had, and that is a tall order. It had to be Ndamukong Suh. So what is unique about Ndamukong Suh? Ndamukong Suh started out playing soccer when he was a kid until he got too big. And everybody knows, if you, like me, I coach soccer. The big guy always gets the calls against them in soccer. If he even pushes a smaller guy and the guy falls over, he's getting a card for it, or he's getting called for it. So Sue played soccer until he couldn't anymore, just because he was never going to get it. It was too hard just because of his size. So what do you learn in soccer? He learned how to use his feet. What do you need to be a good lineman? You need feet before you need anything. You need
Well,
feet that can move, because your feet are what controls your leverage. And everything about being a defensive and offensive lineman is about maintaining leverage, and sometimes, depending upon the play call, if you can pull. And we have not even seen any pulling guards.
no.
Nothing, no pulling from this
No.
line at all. So
4 years ago, the entire Iowa offensive line was made up of former state champion or state place winning wrestlers. The same thing, leverage, feet, and that type of thing. You don't have to be a wrestler to play the offensive line really well, though I think you should, because I'm a wrestler. You don't have to be a soccer player. What we need athletic, mobile, agile, and hostile. That was what Blaine put up just a few minutes ago. And, again, television doesn't always give you the best view. But when they showed those Michigan linemen a couple of weeks ago, those guys size-wise, when you would look at height and weight compared basically to Nebraska. But when you look at their physiques and how they were proportioned, they look totally different than that. Our strength and conditioning program definitely needs a change. The training table, the nutrition that these guys have, I don't think that is a problem. I really don't think that's an issue.
hey, Linda Wilkins isn't here tonight. What the hell? Okay. Okay, Joel Tilson says, would Rule keep $40 million and coach at Nebraska?
No.
If I understand your question, no, he can't. The part of the thing is if he goes and gets a job with like a college team, the NFL owner doesn't have to pay that part of the salary. And my understanding, and I'm not a lawyer, is that the conditions have to be met for him to take a job. In other words, the job, he can't just go say, I'm going to take a job for $150,000 and have the NFL owner pay that. And there's a legal term for it, and I'm missing it. But, he doesn't get to just get $40 million from the other coach or the other owner and be able to get a college job at the same time without the NFL owner getting some level of compensation with that.
Yeah, theoretically, he has to, the way I understand it, and again, I haven't looked into it with a lot of depth, he has to get a job that pays approximately the same that he was getting paid to coach the Carolina Panthers.
All right, let's go to Ken McCone. Fickell, Rule, or Klieman, or none of the three? What do you think, Todd?
Well, I'd take any of the three.
Yeah.
I'd take any of those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. I think the thing is I did the video on YouTube about, I don't think no matter who we hire, we're going to be disappointed, but I think it's a matter of, I I've seen a lot of people say this stuff about, well, if it's blood da guy, I'm not going to be a fan anymore. And in the back of my head, I'm always thinking, yeah, why don't you move to fucking Canada too, you candy ass? That's just it. Are you really not going to be a fan? Are you going to take your little ball like a 5-year-old and go home? Are you going to give the guy a chance to see what he can do at Nebraska? Because I think even Mike Riley was owed the chance of going, okay, we're going to support him because somebody hired him, and we're going to, uh, we're just going to see what happens. We're not the people that have to set the criteria, and you know what I mean?
Hey,
Trev Alberts has spent his time looking into this, one would assume.
right. I would agree. Hey, grab that last one from Blaine Cole.
Uh, okay. Gosh dang it. It's, these are hard to do, Todd.
Oh, well, I figured you
Gentlemen,
had it mastered.
Blaine Cole. Gentlemen, what is the current state of Nebraska's walk-on program, or for matter, in-state talent? Go ahead. You wanted it, Todd.
I wanted
You
it.
could. Okay.
First of all, Scott Frost made it a priority to beef up the walk-on program. He wanted 150 players in the program. And one of the criticisms is, well, he's got his 150 players, and a lot of those players are taking meaningful snaps, meaningful reps, and attention from coaches away from the top tier players. From what I understand, and I guess I kind of believe this, he's got too doggone many walk-ons, way too many. Walk-on programs are important. Nebraska is the king of the walk-on programs. But rather than having 60 or 70 walk-ons, which, that's what Nebraska has, they probably need to be a little bit more selective and have somewhere in that ballpark of 30 or something like that. Here's the other thing that we have to recognize. When they changed scholarship limits and all of that type of thing, there are a lot of guys from Nebraska, native Nebraskans, that they're taking the scholarship money and leaving the state to play. They would rather have an opportunity to go and get playing time someplace else with a scholarship rather than hang around and walk on Nebraska. The days of living, breathing, sleeping, eating Nebraska football are gone for a lot of these guys. Times have changed. There's a few of them that still do. I mean, Garrett Nelson, if he hadn't gotten a scholarship, I guarantee you he would have walked on here. And we've got examples like, Matt Masker and some of those other guys that really want to have that opportunity. But for the most part, some of those guys that, if you want to call them kind of the second tier guys, if they get a scholarship offer to go someplace else and play, they're doing it. Now, what's the overall in-state talent? I've listened to quite a few people on talk radio say that the talent in Nebraska has never been better. There are a lot of Division I, recruits coming out of our state based upon the size of the population. So talent's here. It's a matter of making connections and developing relationships, of which, Scott Frost basically gave lip service to. And, there are a lot of people that are saying that he's just because of his lack of ability to develop some relationships with these players, he lost a lot. So.
Okay. Joel Tilson, will Northwestern fire Pat Fitzgerald?
No.
No. Not unless he does something very un-Fitzgerald-like. I think I've said this several times, I think Pat Fitzgerald is one of the best coaches in the nation. I think he's also one of the most stand-up human beings in coaching that you can find. But no, they won't fire Pat Fitzgerald for any reason. Again, remember what I said about Wisconsin being a Big Ten university? Northwestern is a Big Ten university. Their football program is not the spearhead of what makes Northwestern Northwestern. In fact, none of their sports is what makes Northwestern Northwestern. The fact that they're incredible nerds, like their journalism college and some of the other stuff there, is what makes them Northwestern. So would they like to win? They'd obviously have invested a crap ton of money in their facilities and stuff lately. But don't confuse that with the idea that they're going to put it at the same level of let's say, an Ohio State or Michigan. Todd, Vince Watson, what if the new coach has a man bun? He looks shocked. He's not sure what to think.
I oh well, as long as he's not Urban Meyer or Hugh Freeze, I'll cheer for him.
Will you grow a man bun?
No, my hair is not equipped for a man bun.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I got rid of those two. I did that one. I'm going to take this. Kingsley Gibbons, how are we feeling about basketball so far? I have no idea. You know what? I think basketball, I told you guys this several times with regards to football. I'm just going to take basketball one game at a time. You know, Sunday I started watching the Arkansas Pine Bluff game. We were behind at half, 39-36, I think it was. My rotten son came down stairs and said, "Do you know what their Kenpom rating was?" And he said it's 353. That means they're the 353rd rated team out of 360. And I felt so bad about it, I turned it off and I sulked in my "damn it, we lost to Wisconsin. The basketball team, everything is hell." And I just felt sorry for myself. And then in the second half, they came out and just destroyed Arkansas Pine Bluff. Derek Walker's still not playing. Blaze Keita needs to learn how to play at this level of basketball. I just taking it one game at a time. If I had to pick at the end of the season, I'm not going to do that. That's just what I'm going to do. I said, I'm just not. I just don't have it in me to do that. I don't want us to fire two coaches in the same freaking feeling. Okay, we're at 57 minutes and we're going to take one more question. I think. Let's see. Why do you not want Urban? David Shaw. David Shaw's an interesting guy, but I don't think. Do you want to touch on David Shaw?
No,
Okay.
not going to happen. How about Shane Kunz's question? How patient should fans be?
Okay, you know what? We'll take that with David Matney's earlier question. What does success mean in year 1, year 3?
In year 1, it means playing consistent, hard-nosed, fundamentally sound football. It means winning. It means winning the games you should win, not throwing games away, not imploding. That's what success in year 1 looks like. In year 3, I would like to think that in year 3, Nebraska is competing nose to nose with, well, by year 3, it won't be the Big Ten West anymore.
Right.
But certainly with its rivals. I would like to think that in year 3, Nebraska is getting wins against Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and those teams, those types of teams. That's what I'd like to see in year 3. If that means they have 7-8 wins, that would be wonderful. But I know that there are some people that they've seen some of these coaches flip programs in 2 years. And now the standard is if they can't flip them in 2 years, get rid of them. Now, what we didn't see from Scott Frost was continued improvement. We never saw that.
Nope.
Throw in the fact that after, what was it, in year 3 is when COVID hit. His 3rd year was the COVID year. That threw things all out of whack. My gut feeling is that if year 3 had been a full season and played out, that may well have been the end of Scott Frost. Who knows?
I think year 1's going to be. I think this is going to be a very difficult. I think it's going to be very difficult to rebuild this football team because of the line situation. Todd and I have talked about that before. I think you just don't find offensive line anywhere. maybe the next coach can come in, can actually have an offensive line coach that knows how to coach offensive line, and we can get something out of it. But Jan Huff shows up, and she is always, or he is always, just being all these comments on the YouTube videos, kind of either negative or the fan of another team that likes to poke us. But I think that year one, I'm not going to expect much, no matter who the coach is. And I hope the fans don't go out there and go, well, if they're a good coach, we'll turn it around one year. Okay, well, you remember how we were going to give Scott Frost 7 years? Yeah, okay, whatever. But I think in year three, here's how I would like to see us in year three. In year three, what I want us to do, how many teams are we going to have? 16 in the Big Ten by that time? Was it? Yeah, 14, 16 with USC and UCLA. Okay, I want us to be in the top four. Michigan, Ohio State, they're probably going to stay there. Penn State, USC, UCLA, Nebraska. We need to be in the top four out of those teams. I think those are going to be the top teams in the Big Ten in year three of whatever the coach this is. I would like to just see us be up there. And I don't think that, it's necessary that we're on the top all the time. But I think in the new world that's going to come on to us in the next 2 or 3 years, what you're going to do is going to be more like the NFL, where you want to finish in the upper, way at the top of your division, get into like a playoff if they're going to expand it. I don't know if I like any of this, but that's where I want us to be in let's say year three of this coach. So I don't know. We had somebody. There was another thing that came up and it went by. You guys need to start showing up earlier at 7:30, because this show we're going to keep at 7:30, because Todd's old and I'm old, and we can't go as late as the other ones. So I don't know what else. There was a whole gob of stuff.
Yeah,
so basketball, just take it one game at a time,
Well, before we sign off, we do play Iowa this week, and it's
we
the
do.
week
That's
and I'm going to be cheering like hell, because there's no team that I'd rather see Nebraska beat than the Iowa Hawkeyes. Will they do it? Can they do it? Who the hell knows? But what we got to realize is that Iowa has an incredible defense. That defense won the game for them against Minnesota. They won games earlier in the season when the offense couldn't do a dang thing. We'll see. It would be nice if the team can rally, go over to Iowa City, get a win, and keep Iowa from the Big Ten championship game. That would be awesome.
Oh my God, Iowa. Somebody earlier asked, is Iowa beatable? Yeah, Iowa is very beatable. Their offense isn't very good. I think the key to beating Iowa is who's going to make mistakes. I mean, you look at how Iowa plays football and with Brian Ferentz. And honestly, what Nebraska did very well against Wisconsin for most of the game. Like, there were 2 times we punted from the 50-yard line. And both times on Twitter, I said, we need to punt here and make Wisconsin drive the length of the field. And honestly, I did this. By God, you follow me on Twitter. I said right before Graham Mertz threw his interception, it would be nice to see Graham Mertz interception thrower. In other words, what we did in those situations is we played it a little safer than normal, and we forced Wisconsin into making mistakes instead of us making mistakes. And that's really what we need to do to Iowa to win. Now, what is hard about that is that Iowa's defense is very, very good. Their coach is exceptional. Their defense, Riley Moss is probably, I don't know, what's he, one of the top defensive backs in the nation. I don't think they have really good star players necessarily that stand out or get them win awards. Well, other than Moss, probably.
Well, Cooper DeJean is going to be a stud.
Yeah.
He's going to be something else.
We have to play mistake-free football against Iowa. And that means limit the turnovers, make them go the whole length of the field if they're going to score, even if it's 3 points. So this will be, the Kirk Ferentz thing where he will love to punt from our 35-yard line and be perfectly happy with that. So can we beat them? Yeah, we can beat them. I mean, we could have beat Wisconsin. We probably could have beat Minnesota. But will we beat them? Oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Would it be nice to beat them? Yes, it'd be lovely. I would love to do a post-game reaction video where I can laugh my fucking ass off against with Iowa and say you didn't get to win the Big Ten West because you lost to stinky Nebraska. Because we are just not a very good football team, and that's being mild. And I would love to see that. Do I think it's going to happen? I'm not even thinking about it right now. Todd, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
We're going to go down to Lincoln, spend Thanksgiving with my parents. Then we're headed to Dubuque on Friday to spend time with my daughter and her husband and granddaughter. I will be in Dubuque, Iowa, when Nebraska is playing against the Iowa Hawkeyes, right in the heart of Hawkeye country. And nothing would give me greater joy than at about 7:30, 8 o'clock to hit Dubuque wearing my Husker gear and just feeling damn good.
Did you need me to send you a jacket?
I would be laughed out of the bar. Because I can't wear that. I can't pull that off, John. I can't.
You know, the neat thing about being me, Todd, is sometimes I look so helpless and act so helpless. People are like, oh my God, he's fragile. Just leave him alone. That's probably not true at all. All right. I think our Thanksgiving, we're just here with Noah and his fiance and the granddaughter are coming over, and then Isaiah are here. And there you go.
There you go.
Be just a happy Thanksgiving at home. Let's see. I guess
happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, you guys. I hope everybody, thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting us. We'll be here next week, I guess. I think that's it, Todd.
Okay, good night, John.
Good night, Todd.